Man, did we learn a lot in week 8 of college football. And then we got to the tape on Sunday. There's too much to get to for some long poetic open to this show. It's Monday, so you know it's 10 tape truths from Stevie Boy and myself. Mensch, you know this? Only 185 days until the NFL draft.
I'm aware.
So, Mensch, are you good?
I'm good, man.
One time now, kid. Like there's a clearer picture now, Steve. Week 8 told us a lot, like really starting to hone in on who the top teams are, what the struggles are, and now some questions have to be asked. Some coaching questions. We'll get to that. Some questions about can a specific unit fix what's going on in order to kind of right the ship and make a run here at the end of the season. This episode is presented by Duluth Trading Company. Ready to give rival tailgates the foam finger? Duluth Trading Company crafts Hall of Fame game day gear to help you grill hotter, cheer louder, and tailgate longer. Bibs loaded with pockets, gusseted pants so you can crouch without snuffing out your coals, and free swinging shirts tailor-made for cornhole tossing. Stay comfortable from preseason to playoffs in the toughest tailgate attire around, only at Duluth Trading Company. We're in the second half of the college football season. We spend Sundays watching tape to share with you our 10 tape truths. And yeah, the McShay report is out. Google it, subscribe, be a part of it. Got another one. Huge show on Thursday. First big board of the year, top 32. We did the quarterback rankings last week, and I already want to start tweaking that a little bit, right? And we get the top 32 coming out on Thursday. We'll have a follow-up on Friday. It's a busy week. If you don't subscribe to the McShay report, you probably want to do it. Like now we're going to start ramping things up, both for college football and the NFL draft. But today's about 10 tape truths. And I honestly, I just want to jump right into it, Steve. Give us your first truth from sitting down on Sunday, watching the tape specifically where you wanted to dive in and figure out kind of some questions and hopefully get some answers.
The Ole Miss run defense can get better, but it's not going to be an easy fix, okay? Ole Miss is 99th in the country in rushing yards allowed per game. And I want to be clear about this. They don't have to be great. They don't have to be, that great Bears defense from the 80s. It doesn't have to get there. This team's already 6-1 and gave Georgia a run for its money at Georgia. We don't need it to be perfect, but it's got to be better than what it is right now. And there's a couple of things that are, if you're looking at this on the positive end, they got some dudes up front. They've got guys like Xavier Harris, who's 330 pounds and moves really well for size, got 7 tackles for loss. You're looking at, they got some players. Cam Franklin's another guy, 290 pounds. These are guys that play inside and outside in that scheme. So they got some dudes up front that they could, get things better than they are right now. But watching the tape, there are some significant concerns. We'll start with Harris. As good as he is getting in the backfield and making some plays, he plays high. He's 6'8". He plays high. He's a little bit easier to move than you would think. Franklin, the same thing. They play high. More importantly for me is it's too lateral. Their run defense is too lateral. You see, they like to play games up front where they're stunting defensive tackles, they're slanting defensive linemen, and that's great when you get into the gaps and you make plays. It's a problem when offensive linemen can get a body on you and move you. That's an issue. I love Suntaran Perkins, the edge. He's light. You saw Georgia's tight ends were able to block him, one-on-one. That's kind of an issue. You got to be careful about that. I didn't see a lot of missed tackles on tape. That may have been an issue at times. I didn't see it. But what I did see is because everyone's playing laterally, when they go to tackle a ball carrier, he gets 3, maybe 4 more yards because they're not getting down and being violent strikers. So these are fixable things, but it's not just one issue. There's a number of things they got to get right.
Yeah, and for as difficult as the schedule is for all these SEC teams, and it seems like every week is a new challenge, except when they get a team like Citadel, right, in November 8th. When I'm looking at this, I see opportunity. I mean, Ole Miss, and it's just the AP poll for whatever that's worth, but they only dropped to 8 in the AP poll. Now, in a few weeks, we're going to have the college football, the playoff. The committee is going to come in and give us their first rankings. We'll have a feel at that point for where they view Ole Miss in the big picture of all of this. Oklahoma up next is like at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Feels critical, and the good news for Ole Miss is what their weakness is that you're describing is the weakness of Oklahoma's offense. They're struggling to run the football, and they ran it a little bit better this last week.
Right.
Jaden Ott's not existent. And so it'll be interesting to see. South Carolina is a shell of what South Carolina was last year and what Gamecock fans hoped it would be with Lenora Sellers this year. That's the next game, first game in November. Then you get the Citadel. Then you get Florida. Obviously, Rilling just fired Billy Napier, and we'll get to that coaching position a little bit here in the 10 tape truths. And then you finish at Mississippi State. All things considered, man, when you look at Alabama's schedule, when you look at Oklahoma's schedule, when you look at Texas and Texas A&M and what they have remaining, with one loss in the SEC, they're sitting in a good spot. But that's why it's not, to me, it's not the same as Notre Dame against USC for Notre Dame was an elimination game. If they won that game, we said the schedule lines up favorably where they should win out and be in. If they lost that game, season's over. I'm not saying it's quite to that level, but man, is Saturday in Norman a big one for Lane Kiffin and that team.
Agree.
All right.
They're in pole position if they can get that win.
Tape truth number 2. And there's a reason why I'm leading off with this one for my tape truths. Alabama has NFL personnel on the offensive side and NFL sophistication like nobody else in the country. I haven't seen this anywhere else. And I've got to just this Saturday, I turned the page on, he only had 6 starts. How's he doing this? This is just his 7th start. Talking about Ty Simpson, the quarterback. Doesn't matter. He's playing like a 4th-year starter. We don't even have those at high level. Guys move on to the NFL typically. If they've started 3 seasons and playing at this level. So this is kind of a unicorn situation, if you will, but let's get past that. And that's why I went and dove into the tape. What makes this group so special? I've shared a lot of the reasons why, whether it was last week on Thursday, I did a deep dive into Ty Simpson with the other top quarterback prospects in the class. We talked about Ty a lot on Saturday night going into Sunday morning, reacting to the Tennessee game. It's more, he deserves all the credit. There's nothing, when I went back and watched more tape, and I had watched every other game, every other throw, it's more than just Ty, though. So while he deserves everything that's coming his way, let's not lose sight of what else is going on here, okay? So much attention is being given to 2 and 5, the wide receivers. That's Ryan Williams, a superstar, who's been up and down this season, but was...
The drops, yep.
Excuse me, drops. They had the head injury, kind of nicked up in another game, just not himself. That big drop against Georgia kind of stands out the most on that first drive of that game. But he was back to his peak on Saturday against Tennessee. And even when he wasn't at his peak, you got to give him the respect that he deserves because he'll kill you if you try to man him up against some mid-level cornerback, okay?
Right.
And then there's 5, Jeremy Bernard, who we'll get in the top 32. I'm not going to spoil it right now. He might be in the top 32. So we're talking a first, worst case, second-round draft prospect as your slot receiver, okay? So much attention. That was one of the first things that jumped out in the early series. So much attention is given to number 2 and number 5, Williams and Bernard, okay? And the number 3 production role, I haven't heard anyone else talking about this. The number 3 production role is not Isaiah Horton. It was for a minute, and it was expected to be coming into the season. Remember the Miami transfer, productive last year, ex-wide receiver, thought he was a perfect complement to Ryan Williams. And he's had moments, but it's really been the freshman, was it Lodzier, right?
Yeah.
He's become the guy.
Lottie.
Yeah. So Lottie's become the guy. And I went through the pre-snap motions, and I want to make sure that people understand this. The talent at wide receiver is NFL caliber. The offensive line keeps getting better. The run game's not where it needs to be, but I'm just talking specifically about this passing attack. The route combinations, the play calling, one of the biggest things they do that's critical to what they do, and this is why I say NFL stuff. You see a lot of motions and misdirection and eye candy and all that throughout college football. But there's a difference when you've watched tape this long. There's a difference between doing it to kind of, let's figure out, is it man or zone, and let's throw a lot at them because they're 18 to 22-year-old kids with limited practice time and tape time, and let's see if we can kind of get an edge here. Versus we're doing NFL stuff, okay? And Ryan Grubb comes in, and it like, with a little NFL experience, but he's been doing these kinds of things. But now he's got a quarterback, and he had Penix, but he is putting on the plate of a guy who doesn't have a lot of starts what you would put on the plate of a third, fourth, fifth-year quarterback. Okay, so the pre-snap stuff is not just eye candy or figuring out man versus zone; it's intentional. There was an example, right? 9:37 left in the first quarter. They're in bunches, tight to the left. That's three receivers. One was a tight end, two receivers, okay? They're bunched up. Then they motion 11, Rico Scott, from that bunch out wide. So now you got two targets in on the wing, if you will, in kind of that slot area. And then one receiver, number 11, Scott, motions out wide. Snap of the ball. This is a lot of grub, but also having a quarterback who understands what he's seeing and can make the right play calls. Pre-snap. He's in complete control. He'll look over sometimes, but he knows what he's looking for. Son of a head coach in college football, University of Tennessee, Martin, Simpson's dad, 18 years as the head coach there. So they motion Scott out to the left. And now they, at the snap of the ball, the wide receiver, the running back that's standing next to Simpson and the H-back stretch the defense wide by going out to the left. It looks like they're going to try to pitch to the left, right? And this is all done. All of this is done to stress the linebackers and the safeties. Okay? And then they have the two receivers that go out and they run in cutters, almost like a layered thing. They run from the left side in cutting to the right. So now these safeties have to respect that. The linebackers have to respect the middle of the field. All this shit's done, Steve. To create a magic show to create a one-on-one opportunity for Williams, which is hard to get. But because there was so much going on, from the bunches to the motion out to the two receivers running in cutters to the fake pitch with the H-back and the running back going to the left. Now the safeties and linebackers are all kind of like everything's flowing to their right, the offense's left. All so that they could get that one safety to second guess before he goes and gives deep help over down the right rail. In the meantime, snapped, faked the pitch, bang, ball's out. And it's not just out, it's perfectly thrown over the shoulder, leading him back to the sideline, but inbounds, and he makes an unbelievable catch. All you see on TV is, it's a nice throw, great catch. All that, but it took all that other stuff, okay? And then there's this throw from Simpson, right? It's a minute 45 first quarter. It's a crosser to Williams. I talked to Alex McLaughlin, does the M2 QB here in Massachusetts, and he we text, and he's obsessed with Simpson too. It's hard not to be, especially as someone who's got a coaching background, right? Right. And he texts me with that throw. If you go back and watch it, it's 1:45 first quarter. There's this crosser that Williams runs, and the defender literally is in his pocket. It is not a throw that you want to make unless you're an NFL veteran quarterback and you trust the receiver. And he makes this throw with so much confidence. We talk about layering. This was more but just enough arc to it. And the ball comes in with the DB literally right there, but it happened before the DB could even get his bearings. NFL stuff. Alex texts me right in that moment. I get this text. I look down at my phone. It says, "Stop the fight." It's that level stuff. I just hope people in the country, because everyone was stuck on what's it going to look like. New quarterback this year. Not sure how gifted and talented he is. Doesn't look the part. Not super mobile. Doesn't have the biggest arm, although he's showing more velocity on the ball than I expected to see. What's it going to look like this year? And then they lose to Florida State, and he's gotten better and better each week. And everyone now is talking about Simpson, and they should. My point is they're doing things at Alabama that I don't know that anyone else in the country is able to do, because they've got the offensive mind calling the plays and all the all the motions and setting up plays the way NFL teams do in order to create matchups, and a quarterback who can execute it at a uniquely high level. And I look at the schedule now, like you got South Carolina on Saturday, you got a bye. Then you got 3 tough but winnable games in November. LSU's reeling. Where's Oklahoma going to be at that point? And then you got the Iron Bowl, which obviously there's a lot of emotion, a lot of history, and a lot of things go into that. But they're all winnable games if you look at it right now, right? They're favored in all 3.
Yeah, I don't know.
This has a chance to be a special run for a coordinator who's just come back in with his head coach, a first-year starting quarterback after losing week 1 and everyone having them for dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, but there's shades of that. The Michigan game burying Ohio State. Florida State was going to bury Alabama this year, and all of a sudden they look like the best team in the country. Something I'll say is I love Lottie Brooks. He is super talented, and I can't wait to see what he does going forward. I also love Isaiah Horton. I think you're right. He's had his moments. I think he's played really well, to be honest with you. There's just so many mouths to feed. There's so many mouths to feed. That's what a problem to have. I mean, there are 6 players with 16 or more catches through 7 games. I mean, there are players everywhere that are making plays for them. So I'm with you, man. Ty Simpson's been great, but Ryan Grubb deserves a ton of credit. Kalen DeBoer deserves a ton of credit. Those receivers deserve a ton of credit. I think that offensive line, I'm with you, has gotten better and better, and I think it still has room to grow. I mean, you look at all of it. It's like, I think I texted you last week. I was like, this, as good as this Alabama offense is, it's a rocket ship. It could absolutely be just be different.
Yeah. All right, take it away. What do we got?
Tape truth number 3. Notre Dame quarterback C.J. Carr played like a redshirt freshman, making his 7th start against USC. After I gave him all his flowers, he went out and the only thing I can chalk it up to really is I think he was tight, and that's why I say that he played like a redshirt freshman, making his 7th start. And I think really for me it was the second throw of the game.
It seemed like that, right? Like, so even the emotional reactions on the sideline, it felt, this is the first time that you felt the youth. Right. I picked up on that too.
You think about it. He's eager to come out after losing. They haven't really, quote unquote, played a contender or what you would say a real opponent since they lost that game to Texas A&M. I think he's looking to redeem himself, play a little bit better than he did in the first 2 games. He wants to show what he can do, and I think also other players are making plays. I mean, everyone's making plays on Notre Dame, and I think he was just pressing, right? And the biggest key for me was, the first play of the game wasn't great. He missed his tight end over the middle on a crosser. He kind of flung the ball instead of moving around a little bit and resetting his feet and delivering it accurately. That wasn't a great throw, but I wasn't really overly concerned about it. And then the second throw of the game, he had to roll out to his right and hit Jordan Faison on and out from to the slot. He's made that throw. It is a pillar of their offense. He made that throw a ton of times over the last 4 games, and he missed it outside. And he missed a few of those outside. And that was when I said, "Uh-oh, this is concerning. He's got a little too much juice. He's pressing. There's obviously more throws. I mean, I could give you the whole list of, but it was really missing the outbreaking throws more than anything else."
If you're just listening, Mensch just flashed a sheet of paper with like probably
it's a full sheet of paper of all the plays,
3,000 words and like 12 throws.
And we get to the interception. I mean, you look at that interception, it is as bad as it gets. I mean, it's a 2-man route. It's play action, 2-man route. You're in the red zone. You're up 4 at that point. There's 6 minutes left in the second quarter. You look like, after USC got out to an early lead, it looks like you're starting to take control of this game. They run play action. They run a 2-man out to the left. It's not there. Throw it away or try to run, whatever you want. You want to try and be the hero with the running the ball, but what you cannot do is then work back to the right, kind of run around for a minute, and then throw up an off-balance throw that gets picked off, and USC comes down and makes it a 14-13 game at half. You just can't do it. On the plus side, I'll say this. That first drive of the third quarter, I think he went 4 for 5. He had the 6-yard touchdown to Faison at the end. That's the dude that I saw on tape. Timing and accuracy. He made He threw a curl route for 10 yards, and the timing was perfect. He looked really good on that drive. It looked like he started to calm down in the second half. They didn't need him as much. They were going with the run game. So there was some positives to take out of it, but they've got to find a way for him to get off to a stronger start. And, your guy, Todd Blackledge, was perfect about it. He said he's just got to trust his arm, trust his read, trust his reads, and trust his receivers. And it seemed like he just wasn't doing that early on.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word trust. Like, I don't know if there's an analyst out there that I trust more when it comes to, what he's sharing on a broadcast than Blackledge. So, people are probably listening or watching right now on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, and we appreciate everyone for doing it. But just sitting here being the audience for a minute, they're like, who pissed in Mensch's oatmeal, man? Like, can someone remind Mensch that like we just won 34-24 and like kind of dominated a really good USC team and pulled away. But I do know that you have another tape truth. So instead of waiting as we go back and forth here, this isn't some kind of snake draft. Get to your next point, because I think it's important for people who are throwing things at their devices right now, at you specifically, because you're not getting the point. You are getting the point. And the point is this: you got BC, Navy, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and Stanford. And Stanford beat Florida State the other night, but I'm like, Pittsburgh's the tough one at Pittsburgh on the 15th. That's going to be a challenge. But other than that, and even in that game, this is about developing this young quarterback to get ready for a college football playoff run, because that's exactly where Notre Dame is headed. But now I want you to give the positive to Notre Dame fans and kind of walk them off the ledge here.
Really quickly, it's a great sign for Notre Dame that their quarterback didn't have his best game, and they still played that well against USC and were able to pull away. That being said,
really good USC team.
Yes. Here's my next tape truth. Notre Dame's Jadarian Price, it might be behind Jeremiah Love on the depth chart. We should never call Price a number 2. He is not a number 2. I mean, he's a number 1 anywhere else in the country. I think I want to talk about 2 things about him other than the way he runs the ball and is a compliment to Love in the running game on offense. And the first is the return game. He's got 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns this year. He's got that aggressive, fearless nature that you love in a return man. He could break a tackle, and then he's got the speed to pull away as soon as he gets a crease. When you look back at that game,
I would never have Price pegged as this like monster kickoff returner. If you just watch him as a running back, isn't that interesting?
I think it's super interesting. Also, that I was going to get into this later. I'll talk about it now. This is a guy that went over like 740 yards for Notre Dame last year. I think could have gone anywhere in the country. I read an article from the South Bend Tribune that said as much, that he had several teams that were trying to get him to go somewhere else. And instead he stays at Notre Dame and is willing to return kickoffs and help his team in that way. Marcus Freeman and his staff deserve, and I don't know if it's the NIL money or what NIL money. I don't care. Figuring out how to keep a kid like that in your building is obviously making a difference, because remember, USC was up 24-21 with less than 5 minutes left in the third quarter. They had just taken a lead. It looked like momentum had shifted. And then they made the mistake of kicking off to Price, who broke 2 tackles and went the distance. He did the same thing against Purdue. He's got that contact balance to break tackles as a return man, and then the juice to go the distance. So you have him as a return man. 2, he doesn't play a big game, and he doesn't play a big role as a receiver. I think he's 11 career catches. I think he might have 2 this year. He doesn't play a big role as a receiver, but he pass blocks, man, and he competes. And this is, again, a dude that could be starting anywhere else, be a star anywhere else. But here, he's willing to go in and stick his face in the fan as a pass blocker and fight to sustain. It's not always perfect. A lot of college running backs aren't perfect in pass pro, but this dude's competitive. And then you add on what he is as a runner. And let me just start here. Notre Dame's run game right now and over the last month, really even early in the season, is so much freaking fun to watch. I mean, guys are getting blocked up. I mean, this run game is special. Statistically, it should be ranked much higher, but I think they've been balanced on offense and they've been using Carr more. They want to be more balanced. If they wanted to, they could run all over anyone. I really believe that. There aren't many, maybe not Ohio State, I should say that, but there are a lot of defenses going to have a hard time stopping this. And I think when you look at it,
turns out that Texas A&M has one of the best defenses in the country. And if you're able to throw out the Arkansas game llast week, and it turns out that Miami has one of the best defenses in the country. If you throw out a handful,
and they didn't
of
give Love enough
Louisville
touches in that game. Yep.
And they did. So I want to put it into context, because it is a 2-loss team. And maybe you want to put it a little bit on Freeman and the offensive staff. Maybe they should have run the ball more, but maybe they just went up against two great defenses that were expecting the run, and they had to throw the ball to find success. And they learned from that game, and they clearly have gone back to Notre Dame football with those.
Yeah, which is awesome. And the thing with Price is we talk about slow to and quick through the hole, right? Like slow to where you're allowing blocks to develop, quick through. As soon as you see that crease, you're going to explode. He excels in that area. And then like what makes him really special, I think, is his ability to pull away when he gets a crease. And then when he hits the second level so fast that I think it surprises safeties. I think it surprises defensive backs that like, oh my God, he's on top of us. You know what I mean? And then if he's one-on-one, some guys will try to make that safety miss. He just runs away from him. He just pulls away. And you add on to that, he runs angry. He's got contact balance. And I really there was one play that, I mean, the Boise State 49-yard touchdown is the one that I think people are going to look at he broke like 5 tackles on that play. People are going to point to that play as his best run of the year. And I get it. I loved play 16 in the USC game. It's a 16-yard run. Actually, it's not that one. I don't know if I wrote it down. There's a play in the USC game. I must have wrote down the wrong one where he has a chance. When you look at speed backs, they have a chance to go outside. They almost always take it. And I think Price is a speed back, right? He reads the position of his tight end. And instead of trying to pop it out, he cuts upfield off the tight end. He's not trying to just make big plays. He's looking to get north-south and use his explosiveness that way more than anything else. When I look at him, you talk about a number 2
back.
Well,
the beauty is too, like, and again, like, I think people are like, well, okay, Mensch is digging on Carr. Mensch is featuring Price. And are we ever going to talk about Jeremiah Love with 60 yards, right around 260 yards of total offense? The point to this whole thing, and I think this is a perfect example, the point to what we do on Monday is to tell you something you don't already know. Is to go into the tape and maybe find something that's a little bit different, that's critical to what's going on, positively, negatively, looking to the future, whatever it is. And these are 2 great examples. Like if Notre Dame is going to run the table and make another legitimate run in the college football playoff, Carr's got to make the improvement on the things that you talked about in your first truth here. And then the second truth is Jeremiah, any slapdick could come on the show right now and tell us that Jeremiah Love was awesome. But the combination of the two and the return game are so critical to what Notre Dame's doing that we can't overlook that, I think is the point.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it.
The McShay Show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is changing the way you live bet football. And it starts with Next Drive SGPs. That's Next Drive same game parlays. You can bet what's happening on the next drive. Will it end with a touchdown, a punt, a field goal? Then see the player stats you need, stack in player props, and build your bet exactly the way you want. And every NFL game day comes with a profit boost you can use on your Next Drive SGP, so you can get more out of every play. Whether you're betting a drive, a player, or the next big moment, FanDuel makes live betting feel smarter, faster, and way more fun. Visit FanDuel.com/McShay to download the app today and bet the next drive your way. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. This episode is sponsored by American Eagle. So it's official. American Eagle just launched their exclusive limited edition collab with True Colors by Travis Kelce. And we could not be more excited to check it out. From sweater polos to loose and baggy pants to comfy sets, there's literally something for everyone. They also dropped a handful of incredibly comfy graphic tees that you can easily wear on repeat with relaxed cargos or with jeans. If you're a huge fan or just love the collab, shop the first drop now before it's gone. You can check it out on AE or just go to the store. All right, my tape truth number 5. Consider this your warning. And I didn't know until yesterday on Sunday. This is October, so it was October 19th. I didn't know until October 19th when I actually sat down and watched the tape. Buy Julian Sayin stock now.
You're in, all in.
This is my PSA. He's he's still inexperienced. No, it's not a complete product at this point, but it is a stock that is ascending, and we're watching it right now. And I think because we have Georgia, Ole Miss, and we have all like Alabama, Tennessee, and USC, Notre Dame, and Ohio State's schedule just isn't. It isn't that. It's kind of flying under the radar. They're playing noon games or 3:30 kicks, and it's Wisconsin, and they're not in the spotlight like Ohio State typically was. Ohio State really hasn't been in the spotlight since week 1 against Texas in terms of like big time opponent, challenge, all that. But it doesn't mean that when you see growth, you see growth. It doesn't mean that the opponent defines whether the player is growing or not. And I'm telling you, Julian Sayin is growing, and he's growing. It was a slow up the hill, cautious. Let's make sure we have our footing. And the last couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, it has been kind of started to slow jog to a borderline sprint in terms of his ascent. And I'm seeing certain plays, certain reads, certain decisions, and then mostly certain throws that they wouldn't allow him to do. I want to start with this. I give a lot of credit in the, like, what have you done for me lately? 7 seconds of attention, social media society that we're in right now. Coaches getting fired every third day, it feels like.
Right.
I want to give a lot of credit to Ryan Day and Brian Hartline for recognizing the task here. We've got a special talent at quarterback, but if we go throw him in and expect him to play at that special level right away, we're doing him a disservice and our program a disservice. Let's ease him in. Now, that sounds great in summer meetings. That sounds great as you're putting together your plan. Even that week of game, it sounds great going into Texas. But can you have the patience and the discipline to maybe leave some stuff and some potential big plays and some chunks and to leave that on the field and say, it's okay if we don't get that right now. We're good enough on defense. We've got a weapon here or there. They'll make a play here or there. Let's just win, but let's develop him properly. And as each week, you see the confidence growing. He's taking shots now he wasn't taking before. I'm assuming, without talking to Brian and Ryan, that they've greenlit him to do so. But I'm just watching this tape, man. 8:33 first quarter. Like the touchdown catch by Carnell Tate is the highlight.
It's awesome.
You watch SportsCenter or any other show, it's the catch, the helmet off, the screaming at the camera. It's awesome cinema. What's not being talked about is what got the ball to that point where he could make that play in bracketed, essentially double coverage, two defenders hanging on him. Watch Sayin in that play. Go back and actually watch from snap to finish. The sliding left, because pressure's coming up the middle. Then instead of most quarterbacks, and maybe even Sayin in the first couple of weeks, that pressure comes up the middle, bail. Absolutely bail. Even Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders last year. We watched, it was bail, drift, sprint out. He was slide left and then climb back into the lion's mouth. And by doing that, where are his eyes? Down the field. Okay? And it's not like he threw into double coverage, Todd. What are you talking about? Like, maybe his, what is that? Because his eyes showed him the leverage that his receiver had on these two with one defensive back with his back turned and the other defensive back coming over to, it's the leverage that he saw. So as he's sliding to his left and climbing, he also, what does that allow you to do? If you're not drifting back and your momentum's not going back, and if you're not sprinting out one side or the other, it allows you to keep your feet under you. Because you've been like, I don't care how talented it is, how many TikTok and YouTube videos are out there about Julian Sayin throwing off balance, left, right, all this stuff. And yeah, that's some pretty cool stuff. You can't make that throw and put it right where you need to put it unless you get your feet underneath of you and you can actually drill it and drive it the way you need to. So the feet were underneath, the eyes are where they're supposed to be, all because he shows that veteran savvy of, I better slide and then I better climb back into this thing if I'm going to make this throw. And then he delivers it and puts it right where it needs to be. And then, yes, the rest is tape, making an awesome play, helmet knocked off and all that. That was like the first time. Then there's this 2-12 first quarter, rolling to his right, drills a strike along the right sideline. That's a big time throw to tape. Then that back corner end zone touchdown, right? 5:35 left, fourth quarter. This is all against Wisconsin, I should have said. To Brandon Inniss while rolling to his right. That wasn't eyes. That wasn't feet underneath him. That was just, I'm talented enough to make this throw, but I'm confident enough. The coaches have greenlit me. We're doing this thing now. We're opening this thing up. And for Day and the Heartline to recognize, okay, let's weather the storm early on. And then we got this stretch of games, man, where we can allow him to open things up and gain his confidence and take some chances. And if he makes some young mistakes, it's okay. This defense is we're not going to give up a point. So throw a couple picks if you need to, but get it out of your system, learn from it. I was talking about rinse, refine, repeat.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't had to rinse a whole lot. He's just kind of refined. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what? It's interesting to me is when you're talking about the way he's moving around the pocket there, all I'm thinking about is you talking about Jackson Dart last year.
There's a little bit there. There's a little bit there.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yep. There's a little bit there. And I'm excited to see the growth. But I'm saying buy that stock now because something's happening at Ohio State and the kind of on the back burner. Like, don't talk about it. Shh. Be quiet. They can get to the high rate, but let's focus. Tate with a great catch, and the receivers are stepping up. And Jeremiah Smith, he makes a few catches, but we got all these guys doing things. Don't worry about a quarter. Yeah, we're just a young guy. We're just developing them here. And all of a sudden, we're gonna get to Michigan. We're gonna get to Michigan, and everyone's gonna be talking about Underwood and all the talent and all the. But the best quarterback on that field, as it's trending right now, is going to be Julian Sayin. So I'm excited to see the development.
Right,
listen, it's truly hard to evaluate. I get that. And if you go look at their schedule, and I won't bore you with the schools right now, but they're not going to be challenged at all until Michigan. It would take an absolute collapse, like Friday Night Lights going out to the gentleman's club and like not showing up to the game type situation for them to even have trouble between now and then. Okay. But we're going to find out, is this good enough to finally do the Michigan thing? And then in the college football playoff, I think he's going to be ready to where he's an asset for this team rather than, he makes some plays, but we got to kind of protect our quarterback because he's just young.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm excited about it. I can't help but ask this question. If Ohio State loses to Michigan and wins the Big Ten championship, there's still a 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
There's still the 1 seed, right? I think I think they get, after last year, they get the benefit of the doubt over any other team.
And it shouldn't be last year or shouldn't be any previous year. But what they're doing defensively is becoming a thing of legend. So
I hear you, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, Ryan Day knows how to win that tournament. I don't know. I think it might creep into the committee's minds.
Yeah, it could. Yeah. All right, you're up.
Next tape, truth. Carson Beck threw 4 picks, actually had 1 call back because of a penalty. And if 2024 is any indication, these turnover issues could continue. What do I mean by that? If you look at his 2024 season, right, that Alabama game that Georgia lost after trying to make that furious comeback, they lost at Alabama. It was a nightmare for Beck in a lot of ways. Threw 3 picks. Comes back the next week against Auburn. He's fine, has a pretty good game. Then he goes to then they play Mississippi State, 2 picks, Texas, 3 picks, Florida, 3 picks. And when you watch that tape, and I went back and watched all those plays from last year, you watch that tape and you can see how things start to snowball on him. You see how he gets a little overconfident pre-snap reads. He gets a little lackadaisical with his reads, and he puts the ball in danger more than I remembered, even more than I remembered. And I saw some of the same things show up in this past game. So against Louisville, the first thing I'll say is this: the first throw he made, he put the first pick he threw was to Malachi Toney against cover 3 look. If he gets rid of that ball earlier and puts that ball ahead of Toney, it's a good ball, but it's a bad execution on the throw. The second pick is more concerning to me. This one, he's on the right hash. They're trying to sell a double move, a hitch and go. He pump fakes. The corner doesn't bite on it. And he tries to throw this ball from the right hash down the left, outside the left numbers. It's too far inside. It's not enough air under it. The corner never bit on it. And I was like, I feel like I've seen this play. Well, yeah, it's a carbon copy of the play he tried to make against Texas in the SEC championship game. Now, Texas had a pass interference play on the call. It would have been picked the safety picked it. It would have been picked regardless of that call. But it's the same decision that he's making. He starts to lock on to guys, and he starts to get just almost too casual with his pre-snap reads. He's still playing well in certain ways. He's still, the numbers look good in terms of the accuracy. He's still spreading the ball around. But again, he every once in a while just makes a decision where you're like, what are you doing? And, we might as well just skip ahead to the last interception because it's the one that's getting all the press from him, about him in the post game talking about the receiver needing to make an adjustment. And I understand that. Okay. If you look at that play, Louisville brings 5, they rush 5, but Miami has a 6-man protection. And if you watch the way that play develops, they pick up that blitz, no problem. Now you might be making an adjustment, but you don't have to hot read. There's no free runner where the quarterback has to get rid of that ball or he's going to get hit. That's just not the case on that play. Also, it's a 1st and 10 play. You have timeouts. You don't want to make that throw. You are in the plus, I think they were in the plus 31-yard line. You're already in a situation where you can attempt a game-tying field goal. You don't need to make that throw. What happens is Louisville makes a great call and the linebacker makes a great play, but Beck never saw it. And so, yeah, maybe the tight end was supposed to run a different route. I'm not sure what route he would have run that would have made that throw okay. I just don't. So when you're looking at this, in terms of you like 12 interceptions last year, but he had 11 of them in 4 games. So you're seeing these spurts. So I'm concerned. He's not going to face the defenses that he faced on that run last year, but I'm concerned about the decision making and what we're going to see from the next few games from Carson Beck.
What's the most important thing, Steve, in a relationship?
Trust.
I'm just glad you didn't say sex. Yes.
I'm blushing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look at you, man. We all know what's going on there. Trust. A relationship without trust is a toxic relationship. And as an evaluator, you kind of have a relationship with every prospect, right? There's highs, there's lows, there's defending, there's seeking information and truths, all of that. But just like in a dating relationship or in a marriage relationship, like trust is the number one aspect of a relationship. Without it, it's toxic. And I feel like I'm that guy with the this, I don't want to put a mental image in it. I'm in a relationship with Carson Beck as an evaluator, and I lost trust in him. And sometimes in a relationship, Steve, the best thing you can do is get some space. I think we've all been in that relationship where we're like, you know what? I just need a little space. Let me think clearly. Let me take a minute away. Let me go on a trip. Let me go like regroup, right? And I took that vacation from Carson Beck this summer. I remember everyone's asking on our comments, you guys are talking about Mateer and Arch Manning and Mendoza and Nussmeier and Klubnik and all these quarterbacks. Where's Carson Beck? He was supposed to be top 10 coming into last year. Yeah, he had a bad year at Georgia. Now he's in a new place. And I kept saying, I need a break from Carson Beck. And yeah, I always go back to it, and it's not really for the laughs, but it's just like I'm talking to scouts, and there's all this stuff about Lamborghinis that have stolen, and the Cavender twins, and maybe some infidelity, and all those sorts of things. And so, and it's not dissimilar from being in a relationship where you've got friends in your ears, right? And they're saying, well, I don't know if she's faithful to you. I saw her out at the club. The way she talks to you, or you're not the same person. I mean, how many times do you see that in rom-coms or in real life, right? You're not the same person when you're with that significant other. And so you take a little break. But then what happens in toxic relationships is typically you wind up going back together. Oh, you know what? She's a really good person. She did some good deeds. She's showing up first to the building. There's reports of her being decisive in the decisions and the teammates. So then you're like, oh, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. Let's get a fresh start. And then you start dating again. And eventually the toxicity, the same things resurface. And I kind of feel like that's where we are with Carson Beck. And honest to God, I wouldn't be saying all of this if it wasn't for that interview after the game. It just doesn't feel like it's ever a fully trusting relationship with Beck. And I'm pulling for him. He's not a bad guy by any stretch. Teammates do love him there. But he's got some stuff now, not just the 4 interceptions, but the things he said afterwards. Yeah. He's got to regain his trust. Teammates, coaches, program, and evaluators as well. But that's the last thing that should be on his mind. Yeah, that's from a draft standpoint, my antenna's up on it, how he handles adversity in a big way, because you think about it. On the field and off. Right. So the Alabama game is on the field. They got down big in that game, and he starts pressing and making throws that he shouldn't. And now you're looking off the field. Think about me. I know I mentioned in that time period, it's middle of October until, early November of the time that he's throwing all these picks. So what's going off the field at that time? Everyone's talking about how Carson Beck's draft stock is plummeting. And I'm not saying that, one being true doesn't necessarily mean that it caused the other. I understand that. And there's a lot to uncover as we get farther down this process. But my antenna is up for how does this guy handle adversity on and off the field? All right, you went back-to-back on Notre Dame. I'm going to go back-to-back here on SEC tape truth. So truth number 7. Missouri edge, Zion Young, is completely unhinged. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I want my pass rushers and defensive linemen to be certifiably crazy. And nothing screamed more certifiably crazy. If you haven't, we can't run the rights here. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It's awesome. The overtime coin flip. The referee, he lost complete control of the thing because Zion Young is unhinged. And the best part, what do they call the reverb inside the stadium? The best thing is it's not only going on national television, it's being echoed throughout the stadium. He's F this, and he's going nuts. And you look across the field, and it's like, oh, their captains are they're worried. This guy ain't right. And all of it would be a show where I'd be like, I'm not here for it. If he didn't do what he did. Right. You have to back it up. It was the fourth quarter sack against the right tackle that helped him get into overtime, right? Then after he shoots his mouth off and scares everyone at the coin flip, including the opposing captains, but everyone in the stadium's a little he goes out, sack against the left tackle on the second play of overtime. Then the 3rd and 17 that he created with that sack, 7-yard loss, he almost gets back-to-back sacks versus that left tackle. He did it against the right tackle in the fourth quarter. Now I'll do it against the left, but forces a throwaway. That leads to the missed field goal, okay? Then in the next overtime, it's a 2nd and 13. He explodes past 2 blockers and makes this violent tackle for loss, setting up 3rd and long. This guy's, yes, he plays a little high versus the run. There's some stuff that he can improve upon. But this guy is so violent and explosive, and you can see it's not just crazy, look at me attention at the coin flip. That's the way he plays. Chasing from behind, sprinting around the field, meets you with violent intentions every time. He's got this quick swipe and violent hands. Everything's violent. I know I've said it 10 times, but that's why I kept writing it down. The finishing burst, just through ball carriers, quarterbacks or running backs. He's the tone setter for Missouri. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
all and it's important when we get to the edge class. And the top 32, I'll remind you right now, is coming out Thursday morning on this show. My first release of the big board this year for the NFL draft. Rough Draft has become our flagship show. It's on Thursdays every week of the college football season. I hope you join us on Thursday. I'll get into all the edge rushers. This edge rushing class, by the way, is starting to take off. You got Reuben Bain, might be the best prospect in the entire country from Miami. You've got Falk, Keldrick Falk from Auburn. TJ Parker's starting to play a little bit better for Clemson, even though the results wouldn't show you. Cassius Howell, I told you, he's like a rabid dog. Like, just
David Bailey is on an absolute tear.
David Bailey's on a tear. Mateo Uyunglele is a player. Even this past week, you had R. Mason Thomas. He's only 6'5", 6'1 and a half, 249. Another sack and a half. Now 5.5 through six and a half games because he missed one because of targeting. The edge, Derek Moore from Michigan, 6'3 and 3/8, 265, had 2 sacks and a forced fumble. A pass rush win rate like in the 35 percentile this past week. So this edge class is awesome.
Yeah,
you might see Zion Young in my initial big board, top 32 on Thursday. He's playing at that kind of level. And why is it important for college football? Well, all of a sudden, you got 2 teams, Vandy and Missouri, going head-to-head. There's 2 combined losses, and they're both to Alabama. And we knew Alabama was good at the time, but now it's like, oh, Alabama might be the second-best team in the entire country.
Right.
And Missouri held them to 24 or 27 in that game. And I say held because look at what they've done, what Alabama's doing to everybody else. Okay. And he's leading the charge up front. And then you look at, okay, we got Diego Pavia. And it's going to take discipline, and he's going to have to play smart, and he's going to have to.
That's what's interesting about it. I know.
What's interesting, and we can get to it later in the week, and we can talk about it after the fact. It is something we're going to have to watch. But when Pavia starts running around and doing some of those things, I don't know that Zion's going to give him the time to do what he's been able to do.
Can't wait to see that. That's going to be
this Missouri defense, 16.7 points per game allowed all season. That's 16th in the nation. And this game on Saturday is going to be a lot of fun, but you got to keep your eye on Zion Young because you never know what you're getting with this cat.
I love it. You talk about setting the tone. The tone was, we're going to overtime. You guys might be a little tight. I live for this shit. And I think he left. I think he walked away before shaking hands, a little Baker Mayfield type thing. I think he walked away before shaking hands, and the message was loud and clear. Like, I live for this. I'm not your buddy. I'm coming now. I'm like, you guys got a problem with me. I loved it.
I promised I'd stay in the SEC. So tape truth number 8. Florida needs to hire Lane Kiffin.
I think Lane Kiffin's daughter might be upset about that. Isn't she at Ole Miss and convinced him to stay?
And if they can't hire Lane Kiffin, Scott Strickland, the AD, if he has full, complete authority on this is his 3rd hire. And there's, it depends, but they just extended his contract. Whoever's making the final decision, I'm assuming it's Strickland with some voices, some input. Focus on a Lane Kiffin type. And I know these are tape truths, so what does this have to do? Well, I've spent a lot of time watching this Florida offense this year. You've got this beautiful small window, if you're Florida, to accomplish 2 things. A, you've got to hire someone that, not with their words, but with their history of developing quarterbacks and offensive play calling and offensive production that convinces these guys to stay. DJ Lagway is loaded with talent. And Billy Napier has been on the show. He's a friend of the show. I've talked to you about my working relationship with him. I love the guy. I think he's
good man.
He's a great man. And what he did at the end of last season was amazing. And Tucker, our sweetheart of a director and producer, was really upset with the timing of it. And I get it. But I think this was something with negotiations. This has been in the works, and I'm sure Billy was clued in on it. And I'm sure there was a lot going on behind the scenes where they didn't fire him after a loss. They fired him because they got all the administrative stuff done. And it was happening this week regardless of the result. Okay. So we know what we feel about Billy. We know about what he did at the end of last year. But I never felt like, and this is whether you want to put it all on Billy or the coaching staff, I never felt like there was a decided schematic advantage offensively for Florida. Okay? Here's what you have. You have DJ Lagway. You have Dallas Wilson, who's a budding star at wide receiver. This guy's going to be special. You've got another year with Vernell Brown III, and you've got another year with Jaden Baugh at running back. There's not many places in the country that if one guy can come in with his staff and convince those guys just to stay, that returns that level of offensive playmaking ability, okay? And why? So the hire shouldn't just be for the next year or 2 years. It should be a decade-long outlook. But I'm telling you that this talent that they have on the offensive skill is so good that if the right guy comes in and gets the immediate results that should be gotten from this kind of talent, it then changes the whole buzz and the whole feel of the program moving forward. This becomes a destination for some of the top quarterbacks. It's not just like Texas or Ohio State or Alabama or Florida gets in the conversation. That's why this hire for Florida and Strickland and whoever else is involved is so critical, because they've had to hire other coaches. I told you this is the third time that Strickland's had to hire a football coach, but they've never had this opportunity. It's unique and it's special, and they can't blow it. Now, how do you blow it? Bring in a defensive coach. That's how you blow it. There's some amazing defensive coaches out there. There truly are. John Sumrall you're going to hear his name a lot of SEC jobs and bigger programs. He's done an awesome job. He's a great candidate for other places, but not here. Lane Kiffin is so uniquely, I've spent a lot of time talking to you, mentioned, we've gone back and forth. The way he has adjusted what he does, from the USC West Coast days to early on at Ole Miss with the fast tempo and all that stuff, to back to more West Coast principles, but a more diverse look with Jackson Dart, to we're going back to tempo, but it's a guided, intelligent tempo with a mobile quarterback first. If he can do for Trinidad Chambliss what, like at Ole Miss, what could he do for DJ Lagway? Now, I'm a realist. I understand, like,
this is what I was wondering if you're going to get to this part of it.
This sounds easy, right?
I love the take so far. But
like, I'm not just throwing it out there because, like, take the biggest name and the hottest coach and all that stuff. I'm saying it because the fit is just too good. And I'm sure they'll throw a lot.
It feels like Spurrier. It feels like Spurrier going to Florida. I'm just being honest.
What has worked at Florida, man?
Yeah.
Spurrier and Urban Meyer. What are the ties that bind? Offensive coaches.
Right.
It was Spurrier with all of his crazy stuff on and off the field, and it was Urban who like really got his rise in the coaching community because of some of the zone read and the RPOs, triple option stuff. And yeah, he passed it down and became a great leader, but offensive minded, okay, and helped the growth of Tim Tebow and so on and so forth. So it's got to be an offensive coach for all those reasons. And Spurrier, I mean, let's face it, Lane Kiffin's a modern day Spurrier. He's a more advanced, sophisticated Steve Spurrier.
Yeah, the comp I think is great.
And he's kooky and crazy enough to make it all work down in Gainesville. It's a wonderful fit. But if it's not him, like I hear Marcus Freeman, I hear Sumrall, it can't be a defensive coach here.
Will Stein from Oregon, wouldn't that be a name?
Will Stein would definitely be a name. Eli Drinkwitz is a name that everyone's saying, yeah, he's an offensive guy and had some high, but like, I feel like Florida would be middling with Drinkwitz, if I'm just being honest. And I don't get involved in this foray. And you've been talking about James Franklin a lot. Like, yeah, these are two where I can't help myself because I have too much information and I know what's going on. So if it's not Lane, it's gotta be a guy, and my God, don't allow it to be James Franklin. My God, please don't. So it's got, here are three names. Three names outside of Kiffin, and we'll move on. Okay. If it can't be Kiffin, and throw everything you got at him. If it can't be Kiffin, I would say Jeff Brom. It's going to be tough to get him out of Louisville, where he loves, and this is alma mater and all that stuff. But Jeff Brom can do this job. And we just saw it. If you didn't know it already, what rock have you been living under? But you got reminded on Friday night against Miami. Jed Fish would be another name I would strongly consider with his offensive background at Washington. But I also, if it can't be Kiffin, I would put a lot of time into Alex Golish at South Florida. He's a program builder with an offensive background. All right, I'm done. You're up.
And a history in that area for recruiting.
Absolutely.
All right, tape truth number 9. I love. First of all, that might be my favorite take all year. I love that. I really think that Kiffin is such a good fit, and I love the comp to Spurrier. I don't think it's going to happen. But
I
you're
don't
not
either,
wrong.
but I would
You're not
exhaust
wrong
it
about
all.
why it should and why they should go after it.
What I'm definitely not wrong about, though, I promise, it cannot. Florida's always got good defense because it is a fertile recruiting ground for defensive linemen, cornerbacks.
Right.
They will
Those
have a good
SEC defensive line.
All you got to
agree.
do is hire a good. It doesn't even have to be the top of the top. A good defensive coordinator. They're gonna put a really good product on the field defensively. They always do. The offense has been what's been so up and down there, and you've got to bring in a guy. What Kiffin would be ideal, but maybe it's a Brom, maybe it's a Fish, maybe it's a Golish, someone who can actually develop the quarterback and give you a decided schematic advantage in a lot of games.
I hear you.
Sorry.
I love it. Great. No, I loved it. Tape truth number 9. I am still as high on Texas Tech quarterback Will Hammond as I was going into the Arizona State game.
Stop it.
Yeah, listen, man. Don't. And I get it.
But we lost, Steve. We gave him one start.
He was also 22 for 37. Okay, 167 yards. I understand all that, and I hope that people know me well enough at this point to trust the fact that I'm not just trying to do the cover my own ass because I was so high on him going into the game. I really
kind
hope
of feels like
it. I went in, I watched the tape. You're the worst. I went and watched the tape. Let's start with the bad. Okay. The third quarter was terrible. He did not play well in the third quarter. Guess what? Texas Tech didn't play well in the third quarter either. They had 7 total offensive plays in the third quarter. Arizona State just had an 8.5-minute drive. I think they just took over. That was the interception quarter. The interception is kind of funny to me because he put the tight end in a tough spot, but the tight end should have caught the ball and it bounced off the tight end. And that's the interception. Okay. There was some, I'm just being honest about what I saw. Trust me when I say this. Receivers were not separating well in this game. They didn't have their talented tight end for large portions of this game. He was knocked out with an ankle injury. Terrence Carter, I believe his name is. Terrence Carter Jr., who's a really good player, was knocked out for large portions of this game. There were a couple drops. I just want to be clear about that. You go back and watch those 2 touchdowns, the first half touchdown and then the second half touchdown, where tell me point out a lot of quarterbacks can make that throw in the college game. Those throws. The first one was a 30-yard touchdown pass off the back foot, perfect timing, perfect placement, corner of the end zone. The ball, it was 30 yards, but the ball traveled 42 yards from where he threw it. With pressure closing in on him. Unbelievable throw. The second touchdown was a back shoulder throw, perfectly placed. You're looking at some of the other throws throughout this game too, and the zip on the ball, the accuracy on the ball, even when things aren't working out well, it is clear. It is clear how talented this kid is. And then I've said this from the beginning. The difference between him and Baron Morton is the run game, is how well he runs. The touchdown run he had, which was at a critical point in this game, he is wrapped up in the backfield, fights off, and finds a way to get into the end zone. The 2-point conversion, he just chooses violence, lowers his shoulder, and tries to run over a defender and gets into the end zone for the 2-point conversion. They had no business being in this game late. They somehow found a way. This kid battled all day. I will say this. I'm out, Texas Tech. I'm not making decisions about your depth chart anymore. I never should have gotten that game. I won't say that. But what I would like to say is this. When Will Hammond gets the chance to take over an offense and he gets a chance to be the guy, I am super excited to see what this kid does next.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, it sounds like you're saying, like, the Matador Club needs to keep recruiting because they've got their guy for the next 2-3 years.
I firmly believe that.
But Morton might just be the steady the ship for this version of the Red Raiders this year. Fair
Don't
or
bait
no?
me. Don't bait me. I would stick with the kid. Okay, don't bait me though. I would still do it. I really believe, and I said this after the game, that this might be the case. I really believe that Will Hammond is not the reason they lost that game. I firmly believe that.
Arizona State's trying to keep its hat in the ring here in the Big 12, right?
Yep.
And they made a huge gash there, but with this win. Big 12's kind of a mess right now. BYU is rising, but
it's a great mess though. You got BYU, you got Cincinnati, you got Arizona State, Texas Tech. Like there's a lot of teams in the mix, man.
But that, boy, does that game loom big. Is it November? I'm looking up right. Yeah, November 8th. BYU travels to Lubbock.
Mm-hmm.
That feels massive.
It's a big one.
So you got Oklahoma State and Kansas State to clearly define what's going on there. I believe it will be Aaron Morton, but to figure out, like, is he fully healthy, or like, are we there, or are we going to stick with the kid and Will Hammond? So that's going to be fascinating.
Aaron Morton's a damn good college quarterback, by the way. I've never said that I didn't like Aaron.
No, I know that.
Okay,
and the leadership and like he's El Capitano down there, no question.
Yeah.
All right, tape truth number 10, last one. I finally feel good about the Oregon run game. And you say, well, this is against Rutgers, Todd. What are we talking about? And they lost the week before. I felt like, because it was supposed to be Mekhi Hughes coming in, right, from Tulane.
Yeah. Yes.
And it just wasn't. Okay. But they've had like, it feels like a dozen running backs, but like 6 different guys who are rotating in and out. And then by one point, it was like 8 guys that were like legitimately getting carries or were part of the whole conversation. And that's cool and that's cute. And you love having that depth, but you really got to have 3 running backs. I'm a believer in that. Okay.
Yes.
And until this week, until the last couple weeks, I was desperately trying to figure out, we know the pass game is going to be good. And we know that Dante Moore's sensational. And we know he didn't have his best game, but we also know it was the offensive line and the wide receivers much more at fault after you and I went back and studied the tape, and we explained all of it last week on this very show, the 10 tape truths last Monday. So in order to not get yourself into a situation like that again, if your receivers aren't uncovering and you can't protect against a certain defense, you got to be able to balance things up and run the football. And I think now we're starting to see a rotation and a confidence in the run game that wasn't there even a week before. And yes, it was a very different defensive front. I get it. But there's confidence that I'm seeing. Noah Whittington, to me, is finally the guy.
The vet?
The vet.
You got all these, all these young guys, but yeah.
Yep. And it makes sense. We've been in rooms. You've been in the offensive line room. I've been in a quarterback room. You kind of want the top dog to be an older guy, whether it's even a sophomore with freshman or a junior with freshman or sophomore. You kind of want the old man in there, the grizzly old man, to be the guy, because he's the leader regardless. He's pointing everyone in the right direction. So it's great when he can be the guy. Noah Whittington, at 5'8", 203-pound senior, is the guy. He was 11 for 125 in this game. And yes, one big chunk run, I think it was 68 yards was one. But I like the completeness of his game. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let me take you through really quickly. At one point, or the very first drive, they split him out wide and throw a an out route or whatever it was. Makes a nice catch. He had an awesome catch in the end zone, diving, kind of plucks it, diving, makes a hard catch. These aren't just like screens and stuff. So it tells me that they've got a guy who actually can be a contributor, and they'll utilize him like a weapon at times. I'm not saying it's Christian McCaffrey, but I'm saying when they split out 5, you've got to respect the running back there in Whittington. Okay.
Right.
I see really good vision and balance as a runner. I don't think he's overpowering at 203 pounds, but he's tightly packed and he runs with good balance. Great job tempoing and patience with his run. You talked about it earlier. Patience before exploding. And I see that burst, man. I saw it on that long run. He was clocked at 20.8 miles per hour. He's ran a 4.46 according to like Huddle or whatever back in 2020. This guy's got burst. That burst in the street, it was 12-10 first quarter, 68-yard touchdown run. You could see it, second gear. And so now with him as your leading rusher, but it was 11 carries. That seems about right. 11 carries, maybe 3-4 catches.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got this Jordan Davison, who's a really good complement to that with size, power, straight line guy. He had 3 carries for 100 yards against Rutgers. Also led the team in rushing in that loss. But he's a good complement. And then there's this Zaire Hill, who's a super talented freshman. They keep him involved in valuable carries.
Right.
And there will be times where he needs to step up and make some big plays. And maybe the talent level isn't there for Whittington or Davison. And maybe they need him to come in and have a couple chunk plays and to spark the but that's, to me, is the 1, 2, 3 that Oregon's been missing. And also, like, Whittington looks like it has looked at Oregon for running back historically.
I love this.
Shorter to the ground, shift, a little bit that patient vision, feels it, but has a little scoot to him. He just looks like what Oregon should have at running back. 0 fumbles, very solid in pass protection, except he had a couple tough ones against Indiana. But he's been solid in pass pro. You can utilize him in the passing game. Hasn't fumbled the football. He just brings stability to this group that's had, it feels like, 10 guys that they've been trying to figure out. They've got to keep building this run game, Oregon. That's the thing. Because if you can balance out with a healthy run game with what Dante Moore is going to continue to develop into, I am not losing faith in this team as a legitimate college football playoff contender. Like, could make a long run. But they've got to have a running game, and Dante's got to continue to learn from when he has a hiccup or two, he's got to continue to learn. All of a sudden, this could be a very different feeling Oregon team in January than what we saw against Indiana.
Yeah, I know we got to wrap soon. I just want to say this really quickly. You think about that Oregon running game historically, and I love that point you make, because it was Jordan James last year, Bucky Irving 2 years ago. Both of those guys are not, I wouldn't put them elite in any physical traits, but are outstanding running backs.
Even back in the day, like Kenyon Barner and the guy, they're all
the guys the guys I just mentioned average about 15 carries a game. This is not an offense that has a bell cow. They like to get these guys about 15 touches a game in the run game.
Yep. And that's what I think we finally are seeing, that Whittington can be that guy, which is, if you're Dan Lanning and you're Will Stein, kind of exciting to see. All right, here we are, start of the second half of the season. We know what we got, and let's just keep building with this personnel.
Love it.
Whew, there's a lot to get to, man.
It's always like this on Monday. It's great, though. I always get stressed, and then it's an awesome show. I think it is.
All right, reminder, Thursday's going to be a blast. I'm going to lay out the first top 32. I already got 45 guys I want to put in it, so I got some decisions to make. Mensch has got his board just sitting there like a silent assassin in the woods with this camouflage on, just ready to just to absolutely ruin me. And we'll have fun with that show, and then Thursday obviously with the McShay report. So we appreciate all the support. And we will be back on Thursday, and we will be back again on Saturday night. Get that chat going already. They found Haas last week, so I'm excited.
Thank God.
5 stars, Mensch. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.